Hi, I'm Amanda from Prana Thrive, and I have with me Tracy. We are both naturopaths and gut health experts, and today we are going to talk about another gut related myth, gut health myth. Today we're going to talk about IBS being caused by your diet, the food that you eat. IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome, and there are a lot of people experiencing IBS symptoms that think that it is just the food that they're eating or the food that they're not eating that needs to be addressed that is causing their issues. But as we know from years of experience, there are so many other underlying factors that are either contributing or may actually be some of the root causes to why they are having those irritable bowel syndrome symptoms in the first place. So we're going to talk about some of those different triggers. Tracy's going to start off talking about stress and the gut-brain connection.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I wanted to actually explain that IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is a syndrome, and a syndrome is a collection of symptoms. So it's not a specific pathology that is going wrong, but there is absolutely a lot of dysfunction. So I think when you understand that a syndrome means many, many different symptoms, it's going to look different for everyone, and we actually need to treat the underlying cause. So that is why, we're going to debunk the myth that it's just diet. So we need to do a deep dive into the personal signs and symptoms that that person's experiencing, and we look at the whole body. We treat the whole person. So we will be looking at stress, we'll be looking at the immune system, we'll be looking at thyroid, we'll be looking at liver function, we'll be looking at lifestyle, we'll be looking at sleep patterns, belief systems and thoughts. So, and it's not just that, but we're going to go through some of those today. So I think that's what naturopaths do really well, is to treat the whole person. And that's particularly what we do at Prana Thrive. So stress, how does that impact irritable bowel? Well, stress's role is to help you survive. So when we have a stressor, we release adrenaline and cortisol. And adrenaline and cortisol's role is to, as I said, help you survive. So it shuts down digestion and it shuts down reproduction. Because you don't need to reproduce and you don't need to digest when you are trying to survive. So what does that mean when your digestion is not getting a lot of blood flow? Well, you're not going to get proper digestive juices, proper hydrochloric acid. So we start to see food not digested properly, or we might get a little bit of heartburn, reflux. When we don't digest food properly, we start to get fermentation, bloating. The food doesn't digest, so we get lots of whole pieces through the digestive system and it ferments. So there's lots of gas, burping. The pancreas may not be releasing enough digestive enzymes. The liver is out of balance. So the liver is, maybe nothing's wrong with the liver specifically, but it's not, the detoxification or the bile production is not working efficiently. So we start to not get proper bile being released. The microbiome don't get enough blood flow, so they don't get enough food. The gut lining, we don't get enough blood flow to heal the gut. The peristalsis changes, so we may start to get loose bowel motions and we may get constipation. So that's just a very brief description of what's going on. It also, the stress, the release of adrenaline and cortisol releases a lot of sugar from the pancreas and dumps it into the blood so you can fight and flee your territory. So you've got lots of sugar in the muscles. So what this also further exacerbates leaky gut, because high blood sugar levels or dysregulation there really impacts the tight junctions, and it's commonly known as leaky gut. So you can, just by that brief description, you can see that there's a lot of symptoms of IBS just through continually stimulating that stress response. So what stimulates the stress response? Well, it could be intense exercise, running around, not taking enough breaks, feeling stressed, overwhelmed, not being able to say no, taking on too much workload, poor relationships. So, it's a massive topic, and I really want to delve into this on another video. But yeah, I think it's just imperative that that is addressed. And the beauty of natural medicines is that there are so many tools that are non-addictive and really nourishing and supportive to the nervous system. So if you are stressed, if you are overwhelmed, if you're feeling wired, tired, exhausted, then addressing, those symptoms with herbs, vitamins, minerals, and of course, lifestyle advice and practices, meditation, breath work, etc. But going back to herbs, they are non-addictive and they are so beautiful at nourishing the nervous system, supporting the adrenal glands. Where I think that's where the medical system really fails, is they don't have a really great support for those people that are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. So I think there's so much that we can do in the natural medicine field, naturopathic medicine field.
Yeah, definitely. That's right, Tracy. And, that's a big part of what a naturopath is. It's really understanding where we can use food as medicine, but where we can use herbal medicine and nutritional medicine. Now we have the whole area of microbiome medicine. And so, we have that knowledge to be able to select, and recommend the right things to help with the right symptoms and triggers. So, but just, to expand a little bit more on what you just mentioned there around stress factors and lifestyle factors that, like you mentioned, over exercise. And that's definitely something I do see in some clients. That might sound crazy, but if we are in the gym every day or we are doing very intense exercise, it can be quite depleting on our nervous system, and it can be triggering more of a hormonal stress response. So it's important to, I guess, understand, what types of exercise, whether it is that more high intensity that suits you better, but maybe having rest days in between, or looking at other types of exercise that are more calming and relaxing, your yoga and Pilates. And sometimes you need to try a few different things to work out what does work best for you. So the idea of exercise is it's helping to burn off some of that extra adrenaline and hormones that are being produced that, like Tracy just described, starts to have a very negative impact on our digestive function and on our gut bacteria. And so finding the right type of exercise that is going to help to reduce those stress levels and provide a calming but not, a high stress, more of a stress trigger. Now, that might not be easy to identify initially, but often clients will say to me that they feel really fatigued after exercise. Now, sometimes if you've done a very intense workout, you might feel a little tired, but if you notice that you are feeling more fatigued after exercise, then it's a really good idea to look at the type of exercise, the time frame, and how frequent, and making sure that you're not putting your body under more stress. Another one is sleep. Sleep is so more and more, I think we sort of take sleep for granted, but many people do not have good quality sleep. But there is new research all the time to identify that sleep issues have a very detrimental impact on our hormonal health, contributing to weight gain. That does fit in again to our digestive health and our microbiome, our metabolism of nutrients, and how our different bacteria will impact on our digestive system or not. And so having sleep routines is something that we talk to clients about, is helping to identify, the best time to go to sleep, the length of sleep that often people need, and that can vary as well. But also using different remedies to help support sleep, just like we mentioned there, as far as herbal and nutritional medicine, how that can really help to improve our quality of sleep. And that will have a very positive impact on then our hormone levels of the next day, obviously our energy levels, but very much our digestive function, quite a snowball effect in that area. That's just a couple of the lifestyle areas that we look at. Was there other areas that you would like to mention, Tracy?
Oh, absolutely. There's a few things I just wanted to touch on before we move on. I do feel like that is where naturopathic care really is so beneficial, is that we are looking at the whole person, because it is a whole body approach. And often when you take down a really good medical history, that you start to see how everything is interconnected. And it's like a little bit of a snowball. Once you sort of make a little bit of improvement here, something else improves, and they all start to feed into one another. And you never quite know what's going to improve first. But it's just so important that we're not looking at gut digestion, irritable bowel in isolation. Also wanted to touch on what you're saying around the exercise. I often see patients over-exercising, but not really willing to admit that they are. For an example, they think that they need to exercise that hard. They think that's what's best for their body. But what I see what they're doing, not everyone, but some patients, what they're doing is they're running off their adrenal glands. And what I mean by that is that they're using the adrenaline, they're using the cortisol all the time for that level of go, 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 for that energy. And this is exactly what we want to avoid. So identifying where the patient's at in their nervous system so that we can give the best advice. Do they actually need to stop running 10 kilometres a day and maybe introduce some yoga into their regime? Maybe they can do a 5K run and that they do maybe Pilates, which is much more gentle and is not using the adrenaline and cortisol so much. So this is what we're looking for and identifying in our patients to get the results that we do.
That's right.
So fire away.
Oh no, I was just going to move on to some other areas around that we look at with clients. So, which I guess fits into what we were just talking about there, as far as different techniques. You mentioned briefly about meditation and breath work, and I think the idea of breathing, it's come to a point that researchers identified that a lot of people, and I can relate, are not actually, breathing deeply a lot of the time. So we are in that stressful state. Even sometimes when I ask people about their stress levels, they may actually say they don't necessarily feel stressed, but then when we talk a little bit more, work may be stressful or stressful situations that are coming up frequently, but that person has become so used to functioning at that level, like you mentioned there with the exercise too, functioning at that high level of a stressful state, and that creates shallow breathing that affects our nervous system. So there's a lot of great techniques that we talk to clients about as far as helping to focus on that deep breathing, or especially for clients who are having quite acute anxiety or panic attacks. Obviously, that may be very challenging in that very moment, but using some of those breath work techniques to really calm their nervous system after an incident like that, or on a daily basis to help with stressful work situations, stressful family situations. There's always things that come up, and then using meditation techniques. And then it doesn't need to be a long time frame of the day. It doesn't need to be lots of different. So I usually start with helping the client to identify one thing that they could start to do that day. And it might only be for a very short amount of time, but starting to use certain de-stressing techniques that then we can then start to implement more and really start to feel those benefits on our nervous system, our energy, but effectively that's having a benefit on our digestive health and our IBS symptoms.
Yes, I love breath work. It can very, very quickly swap the body from that fight and flight, that parasympathetic go, go, go state into the parasympathetic state, which is the rest, digest, healing state. So it is simple as doing a very slow breath out, slower than the in-breath, and that it could be that simple. So just checking in to see what your breath is doing is a really good window into what your nervous system is doing. Another really good window into what your nervous system is doing, if you suffer from anxiety or depression, or you're not getting good sleep, these are telling us that there's some dysregulation. Not saying it's the absolute cause, but there is some dysregulation at a nervous system level. So, we need to be addressing that to allow the gut to heal and to help with IBS symptoms.
Yeah, that's right. And you mentioned there, as far as some other mental health, disorders, that's definitely an area that I find a lot of clients have underlying maybe medical diagnosis or past trauma situations that have really had a very, very strong impact for often a long period of time before they come to work with us. So helping to identify, where we can support their nervous system that is being regularly triggered. So through like breath work, which Tracy is a breath work facilitator as well. So, the different techniques that can be helpful, but also using different herbal remedies, especially herbal medicine and nutritional medicine, to really calm the nervous system on a daily basis to help with those underlying longer term factors. And then also, even more importantly, with the microbiome testing that we do, is identifying bacteria that relate to the gut-brain connection. That is such a exciting area to be working in and understanding for clients. So often there can be a depletion, and that's happened slowly over years, of certain gut bacteria that sometimes the test will show that they're totally missing. There can be whole groups of nervous system supporting bacteria that are just not present in that person's microbiome at the time. And that is having an extra impact on how they can deal with stress on a daily basis, or maybe those underlying diagnosis, health factors are also contributing. So understanding where we can use very specific probiotics, prebiotics, and so on to either recolonize or feed those important bacteria. That is such an important area to understand and explain as well.
Yes, such a good point. I was going to actually mention that, but yeah, I love that. And there's so much information that we gather from the microbiome tests. It's really exciting to get those results back and just see how it actually matches up to what the person is experiencing. And then we can tailor a response based on that unique microbiome. So I wanted to touch on the immune system and how that impacts the gut health. So often we need a nice balanced immune system, not overactive and not underactive, to make sure that the immune system is strong enough to ward off parasites and worms and all of the more unwanted bacteria in the gut. So for an example, I see this really often where children, there'll be a family of just say 5, right? And one of those children always gets worm infestations. But the children are all experiencing, the same living environment. And very often it's because we need to treat that whole person, but also support the immune system so the immune system can fight off those bacteria and, bolster the good bacteria in the gut that will help keep a balance. So those unwanted microbiomes, the parasite worms are not going to overflourish. Because everyone will have a little bit of bad guys in the gut, but we don't want them to take over. So the immune system plays a really vital role in that. And again, we have really incredible herbs to support the immune system. And it's also taking a whole well-rounded approach to why is their immune system out of balance?
Yeah, that's right. Something I see in a lot of clients when we do microbiome testing when they've had a lot of recurrent infections, for example, is that those really important immune supporting bacteria are very low in number. So yes, they might have maybe some high bad bacteria there, or which will be impacting on how they can deal with viruses as well. But it's understanding all those good bacteria and how we can feed those to really strengthen the immune system. So there's lots of things that we can do in that area. But again, for each person, that will be a little bit different. Yeah.
And I think chronic inflammation really impacts, it sort of hinders the healing response. So if a person is laying a lot of inflammation, obvious inflammation, such as aches and pains, that needs to be addressed to allow the gut to heal. But also the microbiome test gives us a little bit of an indication of what level of inflammation is going on at that gut level. But the lipopolysaccharides, when they are released, they release a lot of inflammatory compounds, and there's a lot of science now to show that they are not good for health, and they're implicated in many diseases. So they're not compounds we want in our body, and the microbiome test shows us the level that is in the body, and it really needs to be addressed, dampen down that inflammation so healing can occur, because healing won't occur when there's lots of inflammation.
That's it. No, I do love that particular part of the report. I find it such helpful information to really understand that level of LPS inflammation or lipopolysaccharides, and how much impact that's having on that person, and then using very specific treatment plans to help to bind to those particular toxins, or understanding where that type of inflammation is coming from, because again, that will be different for each person. But really reducing that inflammatory response to help strengthen the immune response is so important.
Yes.
So
we were talking about IBS, and it kind of almost feels like we've gone off topic, but we haven't, because all of these things actually impact IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So,
definitely. No, that's good to bring that back, Tracy, because we can talk about so many things. But no, you're right. That is something that I've realized over the years, that a lot of, I guess I take for granted sometimes what I do understand, because I see it often, the different links. But explaining to clients that their IBS symptoms, so their irritable bowel symptoms, and their immune either deficiency, so getting colds and flus often, or recurrent infections, or it could be more their immune sensitivity that's creating more allergy-like symptoms, is connected. So our gut bacteria, there are a lot of different types of bacteria that will be so important for digesting certain foods, but also extremely important for our immune system. So there is quite an important understanding and connection between our gut health and our immune health, but also understanding where our immune health may be then having an extra impact on our digestive function as well. So I guess it's to understand that it's all connected in different ways. So, and that's our job, to understand those connections.
Yes, in summary, it's all connected, and we need to treat the whole person when we're looking at IBS, and it's not just to do with diet.
Definitely. And diet is obviously important, but I would say that for most clients, they come to us already having understood foods to reduce or eliminate, foods to incorporate more. There's so much information now on general nutrition, more than there ever was before. So, and I wouldn't say that's always easy. Of course, there's always temptations of certain foods that we maybe should not have, or know we shouldn't eat at times, but still do. And understanding that yes, foods can be a trigger, but there is so much more. So for a lot of clients, really, it's not their diet at all. They already have such a nutritious diet. And so when I go through all of their symptoms, and we do, especially doing a microbiome test, and then understanding all of these other areas that we've just discussed, looking at their sleep, looking at their stress, looking at their body's immune response, and other underlying nervous system dysfunction, that is very much linked then to their IBS symptoms. And one, actually, just one last one, I'll just mention, this is a whole topic on its own, but just briefly, is genetics. So, our genetics, as far as our DNA, will have an impact on our metabolism of different nutrients, our body's inflammatory response, how sensitive we are. So whether genetically we're more inclined to pro-inflammatory response, that is something that I do understand and see in a lot of clients, that there are certain genetic pathways that have been impacted that are creating much more of an inflammatory response to stress or to their diet, if it is, dietary factors as well, and their immune system. And so that inflammatory response is, from a genetic level, has then become, a very big trigger in their IBS symptoms as well. Genetics is a very complex area. There is genetic testing, which I do a lot of that with clients as well. But even before testing, both Tracy and I, there are a lot of common pathways that we can start to understand from your symptoms and background, and looking at ways that we can be addressing a lot of those factors combined, and then using testing if we need to have that more specific information as well. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to mention around genetics or nutrigenomics.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I actually wanted to touch base on the diet again, because that's really what the topic was about today. So the ultimate goal is to, yes, have a healthy diet, but for it to not be so limiting, because what I see a lot of patients do, and I had experienced this myself, where there are so many foods that you have to remove from your diet, and it feels like it's becoming more and more and more, because your body, your digestion is reacting. So the ultimate goal is to heal the gut through addressing all of the issues that are going on for you, looking and treating holistically. But so you can introduce some of these foods without the reaction. So that's the ultimate goal.
That's right. That's right. So, and I can definitely relate to that myself many, many years ago, having a very restricting diet, and then that creating a lot of stress in itself. So understanding, where we can use our diet to be very healing, and those different phases of introducing is very important as well.
It's not a nice place to be, having an irritable bowel. And yes, just know that there is so much that can be done, and microbiome testing is an incredible place to start.
Definitely, that's right. So I think we've definitely discussed a lot of different areas. There are so many triggers. There are so many triggers to IBS, but that's our role, is to really help people to understand where those triggers, where we can identify those triggers, how we can support those and address those. So I hope that you found this quite helpful in just understanding that it's far more than our food causing our IBS, but there are so many ways that we can also help to address our gut issues and improve our health.
Yes, I agree. I just wanted to maybe correct what you're saying there around triggers, maybe underlying factors that are influencing IBS. Would you say that is what you're trying to say?
Is a better word I was looking for. Thanks, Tracy. That is what I was trying to say. I lost my words for a second there. Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
My pleasure. Well, it's been lovely chatting. It's been a great topic. It's sort of touched on many, many ideas, and I look forward to actually doing another interview with you and going into greater detail in all of those different areas that influence gut health.
Definitely. Yep, that would be great. Excellent.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Tracy.
See ya.
Bye.